Welcome to GLS Carriers Presents Team Talk. I'm Ken Cox, and life's a garden. Sometimes you get the crud on you, but that's why they make soap.
That's right.
Dang, that was
Francis Ham, Kenny Coons. Behind the scenes, we've got Danny.
Hello.
And we are
Drivers for Drivers.
Hey, you didn't lip sync it that time.
I'm getting better.
Oh, I loved it.
It's like experience.
Gave-
Experienced driver and a non-experienced driver.
That's right. So, we don't have any birthdays or anniversaries this week. Danny has asked us a plethora of. My beard's trying to eat the mic.
It's alive.
Danny's asked us a plethora of questions. We're going to dive into those, which kind of helps a little bit, or not helps, but Mike Hansen had emailed and said, "Hey, can we dive into some of these topics and go into some details about these things? Maybe we start to master your craft,
Hours of service.
hours of service, something like that." Danny, kick us off with the question.
Oh, man.
You said something about sleep.
Yeah, like one of my questions, and again, if you guys are listening and you have questions like this, send them to us. These guys have a lot of experience. So one of my questions was if you guys have any tips for a better night's rest on the road. Like, you guys
Shut the television off.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's all it is, just know when to call it a night. I don't know. Any tips?
Good stretches before you hop into bed. You've been sitting there all day long. You're cramped. Get up, stretch your back, stretch your legs, touch your toes. Some of us can. Most of us can't. But you can practice, Make sure you get some water. I'm going to go hydration. I'm going to see if I can put that in every
I bet
episode.
you figured out how to use hydration to stay awake, too. He asked for sleep.
That's right. That's right.
Don't overhydrate,
Yeah.
Francis.
I'm going to go early on the safety topic because I think the safety topic falls right into that question. And I want to talk about wear items that people typically don't recognize as wear items. And that is the driver's seat and your mattress. You got a truck and you spend 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day sitting in that seat. It's gonna wear, and you don't really realize it's like getting a brand new pair of tennis shoes. You've wore an old pair of shoes for a long time, and you get this new pair of shoes and you put them on, and it's like, man, are my feet happy today? You thought that those shoes were the best thing ever, but you put those new shoes on, and it's like, man, it's a game changer. And I think that driver's seat is the same way. It will wear. They're not made to last forever. They're not made to last 500,000 miles. So when you start realizing that, hey, I'm uncomfortable in here, or I go to bed and I lay in this mattress and I toss and turn all night long because it's not supporting me the way it used to do, you need to take those things out. You need to swap them out. Replace the driver's seat. Replace the mattress. Replace your pillow. Pillows wear out too, Just make sure that you're doing those things that will help take care of you and give you less backaches potentially, give you a better night's sleep. Just take care of yourself.
A carpenter's toolbox is full of hammers and all of his tools. I've never thought of your truck, the seat, the mattress, everything inside of that is a driver's tools.
Yep.
The one thing I was taught at a very young age driving was never get in a habit of pulling over and sleeping over your steering wheel.
Oh my goodness.
Because what happens is your body gets used to that, and then pretty soon you're falling asleep because it's comfortable. I mean, you've been sitting there the whole time. Just never get in that habit. You're better to climb in the bunk and take a 30-minute, hour nap than to sit and hunch over in your driver's seat.
Yep.
Something I was taught as a young age.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons I have a hard time staying awake in the cars. My parents used to throw me in the back seat when I was a kid and drive around until I fell asleep.
My mom still does that.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Plus, I like TV. If I start a program, I want to watch it till the end. I don't want to stop it halfway and then wonder what happened. If I'm going to go to bed and I'm needing to get some sleep, I just leave the thing off. It might take me a little bit longer to go to sleep, but I sleep a lot better than that way than watching TV till the program's over. Now I got 6 hours to sleep on my 10-hour break.
Yeah. I'm guilty of sometimes trying to clear my head and go to my happy place. If you have a stressful day, like none of us have ever had stressful days or anything like that, but
Especially in LA.
yeah, your head is like, I'm wore out from the day, and you've got 100 things you still got to go through in your own mind, and you're thinking about that kind of stuff. When you've got to get some rest, clear that out of your head. Just kind of get rid of it. Wherever your happy place is, if you're happy fishing, then think about, hey, when I get home, I'm going to go to this lake or this river or whatever, and I'm going to go fishing, and I'm going to get this lure, and I'm going to try this one, and try to just clear your head of that. Be happy where you're at, and typically that will help you get to sleep,
Till that broker calls you at 2 a.m. wanting to know where your location is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mute the telephone.
Yes.
There's nothing that important to answer at 2 o'clock in the morning. So mute that telephone. You're probably going to be getting up fairly early anyway. Everybody's wanting to get going so they can get stopped early so they can get parking anymore, so just mute it. If it's that important, you're going to be getting up fairly early. If it is important, someone will leave a message and then go back and deal with it.
Yep.
And I guess on that same note, like before you go to bed, if the broker's going to probably want to know where you're at, call them beforehand or get in contact with them beforehand and say, hey, I'm going to sleep, turning off my phone. That way they won't, so prep before you go to bed.
Communication.
To be able to communicate before you go to bed.
Well, it sounds good, Danny. But
Yeah.
the broker and the track and trace are two different outfits anymore. I think they started hiring them overseas or something. They just start down at the top of the list when they come in and work their way down, making phone calls. It can be irritating, so
Yeah.
a good night's rest is not having to deal with the phone ringing at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Turn that off.
Absolutely.
Well, in phones now, you've got options where you can have your favorites. You want to make sure that if mama's calling or your kids are calling or something, that phone does ring. So you can hit your favorites list to where only these 5 people, if they call, your phone will ring and it'll ignore everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yes, sir.
Can you show me that?
Yeah, we'll have to spend some time together.
You younger generation, I swear.
I just learned something cool.
You still got the rooster crowing, don't you?
That's it, man.
That kind of brings us, Ben, to another question of yours. New drivers opposed to, fresh drivers. You had something along those lines?
I did. Well, before that, I just want to know, we talked about getting a good night's rest. What are some best practices when you're feeling drowsy? Like my go-to is to drink a lot of caffeine. And but I also know that when I do that, I can only do that for a couple of days before I end up
crashing. Right. And then, on top of that, it's not really super healthy to have all that caffeine in you, get your blood racing, your blood pressure's high. Being in the truck all day long every day and moving around down the road, we already live a pretty unhealthy lifestyle. So slamming those 5-hour energy drinks or those Monsters, those Red Bulls is not really super healthy. So I'm going to say hydration again.
There it comes. I knew it was coming. One of the things, a lot of blood clotting from sitting so long in the seat. Drivers really need to be careful of that, and it kind of ties into that is just getting out of the truck and walking around it a few times. Don't hold your bathroom break too long. If you got to go, stop. Get
Pull
out.
over. It helps. You're pulling over, you're getting out, you're getting the blood circulating. That's super helpful. We've all got tips and tricks of stuff that we've done in the past, but like I used to pull my nose hairs out, and like that'll wake you up. But it's a Band-Aid for what you really need to do.
Yeah.
Does that work like shaving? Does it grow
It's
back?
better.
I don't know.
Better than shaving.
Your nose there?
I've
But
got,
that blood pooling is a pretty dangerous deal for drivers. You
Yes,
know,
it is.
it causes heart attacks. Can go to your brain. You know, and it's just a natural part that the body does. So get out and walk around. You know, bump your tires. Usually, if I get out and walk around, I got at least 5 more miles in me.
That's fine. And you know, Danny, to answer that question, I mean, inevitably there's only one answer, and that is when you're tired, you stop, you get some sleep, right? And I think when you look at your route, there's times that we do things when we don't really need to. If we're running long distance and running from point A to point B, if you ran 6 hours that day and you're tired, stop and get your 10 hours off. Go to bed, get some sleep. When you come back, you're going to jump back behind the wheel after 10 hours. Net, at the end of the day, you're going to be at the same place at the same time. You're just going to take some sleep a little bit earlier than you would have, you know, pushing it to get your 10 hours or 11 hours. And it really, sometimes it doesn't make a difference. You know, other than the fact that you will get your sleep and you'll feel much better when you get up and start heading down the road. It's not going to make for a late delivery or anything like that.
And learning the hours of service too, you know, with these 7 and 3 splits, you don't even need to take a full 10. I can't sleep 10, you know, but 7 hours of sleep, I'm raring to go, you know. Knowing that hours of service deal and how it operates, you know, that goes a long way with getting rest too. You know, you can plan it out that way as well.
it's like choosing your hard. I mean, it's hard to be disciplined and know your craft, know the FMCSA, know the rules, but it's also hard not to know all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So choose your hard, right?
Yep.
A good slap in the face usually will wake me up too for another mile or two.
Rolling down the windows, getting all that fresh air.
You know, too much sleep deprivation causes lots of things. You can actually hallucinate
Yes.
on things, you know, thinking you're running into somebody at night and they're way down there, you know, but that seems closer because you're actually nodding off. Let's just get her pulled over.
Yep.
We don't need one upside down.
For sure.
Not worth it.
It's funny because at work I'm behind a computer all day, and there are days where I am just struggling. So I've actually gotten into the habit of setting a timer, and this wouldn't work for a driver, I don't think, but every 30
don't
minutes.
do that.
Well, I mean, I set a timer to remind myself to get up and move. And so I don't know if that would be something that you wait until you're tired and then you get out and move, or if you know, every 2 hours I need to get up and get out of the truck for just a little bit to.
Well, hydration is a self timer. Guarantee it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's the answer to everything.
That's right. Hydrate. Windex and hydrate.
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Yeah.
A cup or two in the morning, sure, you know, to get your joints moving and, you know, the blood to circulate.
Depends on the size of coffee.
Oh, that's true.
That's
you know,
true.
you don't want to, you know, if you're drinking it all day, every day, I mean, you're gonna have issues later on.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, some people can hold
Is that
their coffee
medically
better.
proven?
It's science.
So I guess what my last question, I guess, for today, I've got tons of questions, but probably my last one today is things that an experienced driver might know that an inexperienced driver might not know, and that would save them a ton of time. Is that a good way of putting that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So earlier we were talking, and it's not the right part of the season to be, you know, talking about it. Maybe we bring it up, but ice on the road, right? And some of those signs that show
We could call it reading the road.
the road.
Being able to read the road, no matter what season it is.
Sure. You know, and so like as you're going down the road, the temperature's dropping. You don't know if there's ice on the road. You know if it's black ice. You know, you can see the spray coming off of your tires. You see the spray coming off of your you know, the person in front of you. So, you know it's cold, but it's not super. It's not quite icy just yet, right? And you had mentioned a couple other things about lights and
Yeah, yeah. You can look at their tail lights, and if their tail lights are reflecting off the roadway, that's telling you something right there. And really, you can tell in the clarity. You know, if the road's wet, then you just see like a red light kind of glaring off the ground, especially with the LED lights that they got nowadays. But when they're crystal clear, you can bet that there's some black ice on that road right there in front of you, and you really got to watch that. Yeah, for sure. You got to watch that. There are some things that you see year round, and I think you got to pay attention to those as well. And when you're reading the road, when you're in farm country, somebody could have dropped corn on the road. You could have had wheat come off of a truck onto the road, aggregates around corners. You'll see some of that stuff. And when you're wheeling with your truck and trailer and you're making a turn and you get on that stuff, it's like being on ice. You can get scared real quick. And when your truck doesn't want to respond when you're steering, you know, because it's sliding on that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, that's part of it too, just kind of reading the road, paying attention on what's really out there on those turns and stuff that could get you into trouble.
well, and especially in this area and some of the farming communities throughout the states, if you're going down the road and you can see that there's dirt, you know, people coming off of their farms. I mean, that's silty, it's clay, it's, you know, and you get into that stuff and you wouldn't think it, but it's slippery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
One of the
that's right.
things come to mind is with a seasoned driver, trucks are not like cars. You know, there's no jerking the wheel and getting back control of it, jerking back. That's why there's so many overcorrections in a semi. I've seen it lots of times with deer strikes and stuff. That I tried to avoid the deer. Well, the deer's fine now, and you're laying on your side. You know, smack that deer if you have to. I'd rather do that than to tip one over and lose a load. And
Do not swerve to hit or miss.
yeah,
Yeah.
the jerking the wheel like that in a semi does not work well.
No. And I'm sure you guys have seen this before too. When you're running down the road and let's say it's rain. We've had plenty of rain here lately. And you're on a section of roadway that's been resurfaced or something. And then you're going back into an old section of roadway and you've got the ruts in the road that are holding the water from the rain. You know, that leads to hydroplaning. You know, really watching what you're doing there coming into that kind of stuff because it can come up on you pretty quick.
Slush real bad, pulling you. You know, some other things is a seasoned driver is just used to looking for, you know, you get in Chicago, you got low overpasses and curves, and, you know, they may just be following their GPS. Well, everyone knows that GPS works really well.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and a seasoned driver is always looking for things that are going to get him in trouble, you know, overhanging trees and stuff like that maybe a driver without so much experience, the GPS said to go that way. I figured the trees were high enough, you know.
Sure. Yep.
Those are little things that would set them apart a little bit. Bridge weights, back when I first started driving, that was a major deal. Bridges couldn't hold semi weights. You know, you get off on the 2 lanes roads, you'd really have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, without planning your route out and looking at the bridge weights.
There's been a couple times, especially like in Wisconsin, getting on some of those back roads.
Are you falling asleep? Were you pulling a nose hair?
Yeah. What are we doing right now? It's bright in here.
Yeah.
Getting axles straight too. Yeah, that's a major. Sometimes can be challenging when you got 3 different. You know, you got your steers and your drives and your trailer, and trying to figure out. Well, I still get calls nowadays. You know, well, which way should I got too much on my trailer. Which way should I slide my trailer tandems? You know. By the way, that's backwards. You got to get the weight somewhere. You know, but yeah, that sets them apart too. You know, that just comes with experience. You're doing it a lot of guys that go reweigh 5-6 times trying to get it right, and a seasoned guy just slides his axle, don't even reweigh and takes off. You know, just because he knows.
Each one of those holes, depending on what's on your truck, the trailer is what, 500 pounds each hole?
250 to 3.
250 to 3,
Yeah.
and then on your fifth wheel, you're what, 5 to 7?
So you only got like 7 slots, I think, on a fifth wheel, or is it 9? That slides quite a bit of weight, so I think you're closer to 500
to 7.
A
somewhere in
notch,
there.
yeah, to get it up on your steers. Old school is once you get a heavy load and you get your steers where they're at, leave your fifth wheel alone.
Yeah, you shouldn't
do
really
all your
have to do that.
adjusting on the trailer.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
A seasoned driver knows he's got to dolly his trailer down to slide that fifth wheel. I don't know how many
Yep.
guys have tried sliding that with all the weight on there, and they're like, I can't get it to slide.
I remember my first time doing it without knowing, right? Being a new guy.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, you're trying to back up, and all of a sudden it just releases and bam. Oh, that wasn't good. Okay. Put it in drive. Bam.
Yeah,
I'm
you'll never
surprised.
get it where you need it.
Yeah.
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 And then where'd I start from?
Yep. And so then, I had a nice gentleman come over and say, there's an easier way to do that. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Help me. So he, dolly it down, and he would have me drop the airbags as well, because that makes it super, super light back there. I mean, it just glides. Make sure you lube that rail up. Make sure this greased properly, like with your fifth wheel and
Yep.
all that stuff. And that way you can, easily click, 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 click. Mark Bresnahan and I were out at the yard not too long ago, I think last Thursday. Got his trailer all cleaned up, and he says, hey, I need some help moving this fifth wheel. And we dollied down, dropped the airbags, was able to move, but because we were off center or off kilt just a little bit, we couldn't get the passenger side pin to lock in. So we started beating on the actuator and the pin. I don't know what to call those.
Grabby dealies.
You broke it, didn't you?
The grabby dilly thingies. We didn't break it. So we ended up pulling the truck out from underneath it so we could get some better leverage in there. And there's another lever on the other side that we went tap, 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 and it came right in, and then we backed underneath, and off he went to pick up some beef.
Yep. Yep.
So
Talking about dollying and stuff, I've seen this plenty of times too, where a guy goes out to dolly his trailer and doesn't realize the bolt fell out in the cross shaft. So you're dollying it and you're watching your dolly leg go down, but the other one's completely up. It's always good practice to look to the other side to make sure they're both coming down.
Oh man, I can only imagine. Oh, landing gear's down. I'll go ahead and pull out. Yeah, no bueno.
Hooking up to a trailer, same thing. Making sure, get up underneath there with your flashlight and look, make sure your jaw's around your kingpin. A lot of guys will just jerk on it. Well, if the load's loaded and you sitting on the fifth wheel when you go to dolly up, it may not jerk ahead. Better to just lean over up in there and look, make sure it's wrapped around that.
That also gives you the opportunity to see if you've high pinned it. It could be just barely hooked on there, but there's not good positive contact between the trailer and the fifth wheel.
Yep.
And so you think you've done well, and then off you go, and you turn a corner, and all of a sudden your trailer's sitting on your axles.
Yep.
And when you're coupling, when you're backing into the trailer, drop those airbags so you can get underneath it, so then you're not pushing all of the fifth wheel grease off, and so you don't have to put grease on every 5 days.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. You make sure you drop your airbags, you get underneath it, get out and look to make sure that you're squared up, that you're not over the kingpin. Raise those airbags and just click in there, and you're good.
Where does that grease go besides on your drive line and then thrown
All
everywhere
over your
and all over
clothes.
your airlines and your electric cord and
In your drums, all over your tires, the passenger car next to you.
yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pre-planning your trips is really good. I always used a map. With these GPSs anymore, it's shortest route, so you're get off an exit and get back on, because the exit actually cut the freeway off. That's the most irritating thing in the world.
Yeah.
GPS is not always right.
Nope.
So
Especially in Chicago.
That's right.
I was just thinking, are there parts of a town, when you go into a town, are there parts of a town that you're like, oh, this is the old part of town? They aren't going to be, the bridges aren't going to be as high, or the overpasses aren't going to be as high.
Yes.
Do you ever have,
Yes, 100%. Anytime you go to a LODO, a lower downtown in any community, not only do you have to look at their bridges, you have to look at your narrow roadways, trying to be able to turn and keep your tractor and trailer on a road. The other thing is your power lines. Your older communities have their power lines, cable TV, all that stuff is hanging low, and you really got to watch
You're familiar with that,
I know. I
ain't
was
you?
just
I
remembered
am.
that story.
that. I am.
That was really expensive TV.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Good deal. Do you got anything else you want to add before we close it up?
I've never done any of those things. I'm gonna knock on some wood now.
Yep.
Probably back into somebody in the parking lot.
Francis?
No, just thanks again, guys. Thanks for everything that you're doing out there. Really appreciate it. And we'll try to keep coming up with some topics here that hopefully can help. If you have comments on anything that we've talked about, definitely help us out. Put it on there so we can see it. And if you have any ideas of something, or you have a topic that you'd like for us to discuss, let us know about it, and we'd sure like to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if this show is lame, it's your guys' fault. 'Cause you're not asking questions.
Danny, appreciate the questions.
Yeah.
As we close, we want to say thank you. Thank you for doing what you guys do. You remember, you're the eyes and ears on the road. If you see something, say something. And we're all successful when you make it home to your loved ones safely.
See ya.
Thanks.